Hey guys, today I am testing out Minecraft on my M1 MacBook Pro using shaders and also a resource pack. So this is the first time I've done this on my Mac and it's actually running surprisingly well, as you can see. Frame rate is anywhere in between, usually around 60 to 80 something frames per second, depending on what you're looking at. You can see I have my render distance set pretty high as well. As you can see here, I do have the M1 Pro. This is my 16-inch M1 Pro. And in order to run these shaders, I am using the Iris or Sodium renderer. So the main reason I decided to give this a try was because I usually play Minecraft on my gaming desktop, which is my main gear MG1. And I wanted to try using those same exact shaders here. Even if you're not playing Minecraft with any shaders or resource packs, if you run this using the Iris or the Sodium renderer compared to the standard native renderer, you do get a little bit of a boost in FPS as well. So what I usually run on my PC is the Iris to run the BSL shaders and the NAPP resource pack. That's usually what I do. The reason why I like using the BSL shaders is because it looks very, very nice. It greatly transforms your game, and at the same time, it's not too taxing on the hardware, so that's what I like to use. I'll show you guys my settings here. As you can see, it runs really smooth. So in the options here, you can see I have my render distance set to 20. I could set it to higher. I honestly might try maybe like 24 or 23. My max frame rate is set to 90 right now. I could bump it up, but honestly, with the kind of frames we're getting, and since it's fluctuating, I might as well just leave it capped at around 80. Quality, fancy, everything here. Performance, advanced. I am running at 1920 by 1200 as my resolution, and in the shader pack options, I did have to turn off a bunch of things. So if you set this profile to like the minimum, that's what I did, and then I slowly bumped things up as I went to try to get things to look really nice, but yet not have such a negative effect on my performance. So the real-time shadows, it was off on the minimum, but I turned it on. It doesn't seem to impact it that much here, especially if you leave the shadow map quality on low. Material, I did try turning on the parallax mapping, which is when you have like the 3D textures, but that seems to have a big impact on the performance on this Mac. So I left that off. And yeah, all the other stuff is not too intense here. I didn't really change anything here. Everything is still set to what it was on the minimum. Mainly, all I did was just set this to minimum and turned on the real-time shadows. I turned off desaturation as well. I mean, you could turn on anti-aliasing if you want, but on this 16-inch screen, running at this resolution, it doesn't look too blurry or pixelated anyway, so I just left that off. And yeah, so that's what I'm running here. And even at this setting, I've never heard the fans on my MacBook come on, basically ever. I didn't even know if my fans were working on my Mac. So when I ran No Man's Sky on this MacBook, it also runs extremely well on this M1 Pro, No Man's Sky. It's very well optimized for Apple Silicon. So when I was running that, it was just running completely smooth, and I wanted to see if my fans even work, because I don't even know if like maybe my MacBook has a defect, because I've never heard the fans come on my MacBook. But I downloaded Mac Fan Control, and the fans are indeed spinning, just at a very, very low rate. So the fans are spinning, but you won't be able to hear it on this Mac. And they will ramp up if need be, if it gets really hot, but I've never gotten to the point where the fans needed to ramp up to a point where I could actually hear it. Even when I was playing No Man's Sky, the highest the temperatures were reaching were like 70 something degrees, so perfectly safe. So yeah, I also turned on the light rays. I forgot to mention that. That's also disabled if you put it on minimum, but I left that on because it looks a lot nicer with the light rays. Doesn't seem to have too much of an impact on performance. So yeah, this, honestly, with these settings, it looks really, really nice playing on this MacBook. And the performance is doing really, really well. Even when there's a bunch of stuff going on, like right here, this is our farm, so there's a bunch of cows here. Same thing, a bunch of chickens over there. And the FPS obviously will drop a little bit here, but it's nothing too crazy. And even with the bunch of chickens here, it's running perfectly smooth. And again, playing this is completely dead silent. I don't hear the fans whatsoever. I'm touching above the hinge and it's just barely warm to the touch. So not too stressful on the Apple Silicon chip here. At these settings, it looks very similar to what I'm playing at on my gaming desktop. The biggest difference is just, well, the biggest noticeable difference is that there's no parallax mapping. So these textures would all be three-dimensional with individual shadows on each of the textures. But here we can't really, you can enable it, but then you'd have to deal with some stuttering here and there, and maybe turn down the render distance, and maybe at those settings you'll be fine. But currently I'm fine with having that POM disabled, and I'd rather have a higher render distance. Ooh, another big thing I noticed though, this definitely in the shader options. These blocks of gold would all be reflective. So let me see if I can turn that on. I don't know how big of an impact that will have on the FPS. Material, and you have to turn on advanced materials. So I just did that, but I turned off parallax occlusion mapping, which is that 3D textures. But when you have this advanced materials on, it is a lot more jittery. I don't know if you can see this on the video, but playing right now, it's definitely a lot more, there's a lot more stutters here and it's not as smooth. So even though this looks really, really nice, it's still just best to leave this off, at least on the M1 Pro. Yeah. And now it's really, really smooth. So yeah, that's the Minecraft shader testing on the M1 Pro. At these settings, runs really nicely, and it looks pretty good as well. So yeah, really surprised how it's even doing this at all. But you can see here, I am running on my 16-inch MacBook Pro. Yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.